right, we're live. Welcome everybody to the Content Lab podcast. We're on episode 12 with Wykie Etsebeth, straight from Australia. Wykie is a YouTuber, photographer, and videographer in the CrossFit space. He has worked with some of the biggest brands in the sport, such as CrossFit Games, Saunders, Mat Fraser, HWPO, and the list just goes on. He has a background in owning CrossFit affiliates and helping other gym owners through business coaching and seminars. Wykie, thank you so much for being on the show, dude.
Thanks for having me, man. I'm excited.
Yeah, so it's 5 p.m. here in Florida. I'm in Central Time. You say it's 8 a.m. over there in Australia?
8 a.m. I've been up for about 2 hours, so ready for the day. Yeah, got my coffee here. So, yeah.
Awesome. I was a little nervous because yesterday I messed up the time zone with Mariah. That's why I messaged you today, like, hey, are we sure it's at 5 p.m. Central? You're like, yeah, I got you.
It's hard, man. Like with all these collaborations around the world, trying to get the time zones right, it's always a challenge, but we nailed it. Yeah.
Absolutely. Yeah, I'm glad to have you here, man. All right,
you're doing
Wykie,
good
so
job. I'm loving what you're doing, by the way. I'm really enjoying all the stuff you're putting out. So I feel honored to be on the Content Lab. Yeah.
Appreciate it, man. Yeah, I was gonna tell you the same thing, but we'll talk more throughout because obviously you also have a podcast you started recently. But let's start with your background. Tell me how's your life growing up? Where are you from? All that.
Yeah, so I'm born in South Africa, a very small town, about an hour's drive from Johannesburg, and it was no English at all. So I grew up speaking Afrikaans. So Afrikaans, I wouldn't say it's my first language anymore because it's pretty bad now, my Afrikaans. But yeah, just a small kind of farming community, great family, great friends. Really, yeah, just a perfect little entry to life, really. My early days. Got up to a bit of mischief as a young guy. Like, I played a lot of sports. I was out with my friends all day, every day. I played everything from rugby to cricket to athletics to tennis, just anything to do with sport I was obsessed with. And so, yeah, we moved at the age of, I was 15 when we moved from South Africa to New Zealand. And I actually instigated that. My best friend moved to New Zealand when I was 9, he was 7. And so I went over and visited him in New Zealand when I was only 9 years old. And I came back from that trip and I told my dad, you have to go check out this country. It's beautiful. It's the place to be. And so Dad went over and he loved it as well. So my friendship with my mate in New Zealand kind of caused us to move countries from South Africa to New Zealand when I was 15. So yeah, finished off my school years and my university in New Zealand. Yeah.
Oh, nice. And how far is the drive from South Africa to New Zealand?
You can't drive there. It's a long way over the ocean.
Did I say drive or fly?
Fly,
I think yeah. Okay. Yeah. How far is the flight?
No, it's probably about 24 hours of flying.
Yeah.
It's right. Yes, on the opposite side of the world. So it's a long way away.
No, I know, but did I say drive?
I think you said drive.
I don't know. I'll go back and check, but I was expecting you to say 16 hours or something of flying.
Yeah, it's a long way. It's a long flight. So I was 9 years old and I flew by myself from South Africa all the way to New Zealand.
Wow.
But yeah, it was a great move. It was the best thing for our family to move to New Zealand. It's an awesome country. Yeah, but I'm in Australia now. So me and my wife have since moved to Australia. So South African, New Zealander, and now Aussie. So yeah.
Nice. What do you consider yourself when people ask you where are you from? You say South Africa?
Yeah, my heart is still South African,
Nice.
So I think I'll always call myself a South African. I'm still very passionate about that beautiful country. So yeah.
Yeah, absolutely. Yeah, I moved from Venezuela to the United States when I was 17 years old, which it was 11 years ago. And when people ask me, obviously Venezuela, that's where I'm from.
That's it, man.
And I still have a strong accent, so people can tell right away I'm not from here.
Yeah, that's it.
All right. So do you do any type of content creation growing up?
No, not at all. I always felt like I had a creative streak, but I never had any way of expressing it. I think because sport and fitness kind of dominated my life so much, I never really had the time to explore that creative side of me that I always knew I had, but just never kind of expressed it. So no, literally picked up my camera for the first time 2019 maybe end of 2018 was the first time I ever picked up a camera. So yeah, no.
Wow. Did it, because I was checking, you've had your YouTube channel for quite a while. Was that kind of like how you got started with trying to like
Yeah,
learn how to use a camera?
that's it. Yeah. So I'm just self-taught, and I just yeah, I found YouTube. I kind of fell in love with YouTube around kind of 2017, 2018, and started consuming a lot of content on YouTube, especially creators. You know, they were taking photos and videos. The main reason I did that was I wanted to create content for my gym. Um,
Yeah.
my gym here in the Gold Coast, it was really struggling, and so I was trying to figure out how to get the word out. And I thought if I can learn how to make videos and take nice photos, maybe I can present my gym in a better light and try and get more people through the door. So I was trying to do like member stories. I was trying to film my members and tell their stories. And so I just jumped on YouTube and learned how to use a camera. Yeah.
Yeah, and that was your own gym, right? Like you owned the affiliate.
Yeah, correct. So that was my second gym. My first gym was in New Zealand. I ran
Okay.
that for 8 years, and then this one here in Australia, I ran for 3 years before I shut that one down. Yeah.
Oh wow. Yeah,
Yeah.
tell me about that. Like when did you start CrossFit and when did you open your first affiliate? Like did you ever compete or anything, or was it more just mainly owning a gym and just working out for fun, for fitness?
Yeah, I think my story is quite similar to a lot of CrossFit affiliate owners. I stumbled across CrossFit.com in 2009, and I was working at a Globo gym at the time. And so me and a few of the other trainers, we started doing these CrossFit workouts at our Globo gym. And the owner didn't like it. He didn't like that we were doing kipping pull-ups and Olympic lifting. He just wanted us to do what all the other members were doing on the machines. Doing our circuits. And so we decided, actually it was four of us trainers at the same gym. We all left within the space of 3 to 6 months. We all left the Globo gym, and we all opened our own individual affiliates around Auckland, four of us. So that was back in 2011 that happened.
Wow.
So yes, I opened the affiliate in 2011. Just completely fell in love with CrossFit. I was like, this is the only way you should be training. And yeah, I was doing every local competition I could find. So I was traveling around New Zealand doing every competition, and I was pretty decent. I think because I found CrossFit pretty early on, I kind of had a bit of a head start on most of the country. And New Zealand's a pretty small country, and so I did fairly well in the local competitions, a few podium spots here and there. But just fell in love with coaching and teaching people the methodology of CrossFit. So yeah,
Yeah,
that's
and
kind
I love it. And we have a question that kind of like relates into that from Enrique V Media. He asked, Carlos said in the intro that you help affiliates with business coaching. Have you ever thought to do that with other creatives that are struggling to put out their work?
Yeah, I'm actually I've just started working on my first course. So I'm going to create a course for affiliate owners or for any gym owners really, um, on how to shoot photos and videos for their gyms. And so I
Mm.
think that course will help. It should help a creator as well. It's probably going to be more focused towards helping affiliate owners put out content. Um, but yeah, I think at the moment I'm trying to figure out what direction to go with the channel. I'm still working out what the channel is going to be about. But I do have a passion for content creation, and so I want to include more of that in my channel. At the moment, it's very CrossFit news focus, my training, nutrition. But yeah, it's definitely something I want to pursue more, is helping creators with their content and help them succeed. Yeah.
Absolutely, but yeah, I mean, I've checked out your channel. Obviously, you do a lot of CrossFit stuff, but I feel like every once in a while you put out some stuff that can help content creators, even on your Instagram too. I remember after the games, a lot of people were asking you questions. You were very open to share, like your experience. And I even remember one of my friends, Tyler, not that long ago, he showed me your channel. He's like, "Hey, you know this dude?" I'm like, "Yeah, yeah, I know Wykie." And then he's like, "Yeah, I saw a video that he was." I don't know exactly what video it was, but he was talking about you um maybe like sharing how you shoot inside a gym and some presets or something like that.
Yeah,
And he told me about it, and that was not that long ago. I will say that was maybe 2 3 weeks ago. He told me about it.
that's awesome.
So yeah,
Yeah, I
and
want to do more of that stuff for sure.
Yeah, and I see you also started a podcast recently.
Yeah, I guess with the YouTube channel, it's very easy because I put videos out pretty much 2 or 3 times a week. It made sense for me to kind of create a few categories, Monday, Wednesday, Friday kind of themes for the channel. And I have access to a podcast studio that my friend owns. And so I thought I'd like to do like a more sit down podcast version of my videos. And so yeah, it doesn't feel like a podcast. It just feels like another YouTube video to me. But
Yeah.
yeah, I do call it a podcast. So that's every Monday that comes out. So I'm really enjoying that. I think we're I'm 5 episodes in.
Yeah, I
So
love the theme because it's about like a lot of things that happened the week before, but you put everything together, right? Instead of like I was going to like all the different like YouTubers and stuff, you kind of like grab all the information and put it in one episode, which I think it's a genius idea.
yeah, well, there's so many podcasts and channels out there now. It's hard to keep up with everything, and I'm lucky enough that I get to watch majority of those. I work from home, and this is my job, so I get to watch most of the channels and the podcasts. And so I thought it'll make sense to kind of just gather the key information and try and present it in like a 20 to 30 minute video. I mean, I always encourage people to go and watch the actual content of the other creators if they have the time. But I thought it'd be nice to have something packaged up in like a 20 to 30 minute podcast. Yeah.
That's awesome.
Yeah.
We have Matt Sousa here. He says, "What's going on, gentlemen?"
What's up,
Uh,
Matt?
Matt Sousa, great guy. By the way, big shout out to Matt. He helped me a lot to set up all this content lab stuff. The first time I kind of like start thinking about it, I hit him up because I know he's the producer for the Savants podcast.
That's it.
So great guy and big shout out to him. So thank you. One of the things I really love about your stuff, obviously like how good you are with everything, but also how supportive you are with our creators. You posted a videographer games too saying like I think it was 5 or 10 people that you should really follow, right? And you have such a big platform, right? You have 11,000 follower or subscribers on YouTube, and how many on Instagram? Like 30,000, 20,
Yeah,
30,000.
20, about 20, I think. Yeah.
Okay, yeah. So you have a big platform, right? And you can reach a lot of people. And I realized that most of the people that you were mentioning on those like recommendations were kind of like people like that need the word out there. Like Eric, you've mentioned the dude that creates the pictures and put in like miniature, like the
Oh yeah.
gigantic world.
Yeah, yeah.
Yeah. So, dude, I obviously like every time somebody like a creator with that can reach that many people post stuff like that, it's something I really appreciate because it's something you don't have to do, right? Like nobody's telling you, hey, you should do this. It's something that just comes like straight, something that you want to do, and it helps a lot of people, right? It's like um tell me about that. Like, is that something that you obviously you said that you have interest in, like, teaching people, like helping people, the creatives, but what's your approach on that, like, in the helping other creators?
Yeah, I mean that for me that comes from my Christian upbringing. I follow Jesus, and he kind of lived that life where he put other people first. And so that's always been the way I try to live. I try to put others first and lift others up. And as a result of that, like when you put other people first and you focus on lifting others up, inevitably you gain from that. I've never felt ripped off, or I've never felt like I've lost out by helping someone else or lifting someone else up. And so even in my CrossFit gym, our motto at the CrossFit gym was people first, fitness follows. So even though the gym was about fitness, the culture was very much about the people and everyone helping each other out. So it's just always been a way I've lived. And yeah, it stems from that example that Jesus has set for me. So yeah, man. So I think it's just something that I've been brought up with, and I've seen the fruits of it. When everyone knows the saying, "A rising tide lifts all the ships." And I'm a big believer in that. There's so much. The market is so big that there's so much room for more creatives and more channels. Yeah, thinking that there can only be one winner and everyone else is going to lose out. I think it's a really limited mindset. I think we can all win. I think there's enough to go around for everyone. So, yeah, man, that's just what I believe and how I've always kind of approached life. Yeah.
That's great, dude. And I'm sure a lot of people appreciate that event, you know, people are just trying to get to the point that you are, YouTube content creation. They're like, wow, somebody like you, so cool, and like sharing all that. And
And so,
also in person, you're very outgoing, like very nice to people. I met you the first time at the games this past year, 2021, and that's one of the things I realized. You like say hello to everybody. You're like very happy and outgoing with everybody, even people like. I do remember the first time you met me. It was at the swim event. We had that speaker right there with
that's it.
Eric, and we were like, it was like the worst time of my life for like 30 minutes straight.
Yeah,
And you were super cool to me and to everybody around. So
I appreciate it, man. And the thing is, like I got a hand up as well. Like someone did that for me. I got my big break in 2019, and it was Cara and Matt Saunders. They gave me a hand up, So um, I hate the saying self-made. When someone says like they're a self-made, whatever, self-made millionaire or whatever they say, no one's self-made. Like we've all received some kind of help from someone somewhere, and so yeah, so I definitely got a hand up as well. So I've been on the receiving end of being lifted up by someone else. Yeah.
yeah, I was just gonna ask you about that. What was your first, like the first opportunity you got? Not, you mentioned it was with Carl Sanders.
Yeah.
What was that like, and what competition, and how was the experience?
Yeah, so Cara started her company Active Eyewear back in 2019, I believe it was, and they were going to the Hawaiian Trail Run with the Keala Foundation, and so she wanted to get some content while they were over in Hawaii, and so they asked me to come with them, which was just unreal. So yeah, I'm trying to think how it even happened. I think they just saw some content I put out for my gym because they live in Brisbane, not too far away from here. So I think they just saw some content I was creating for myself and for my gym, and they just must have thought that I was good enough to come with them. So yeah, so that trip just like thrusted me into the CrossFit, media sphere because I met all the Romwat team there. So Pat
Yeah.
Bellner was there, Noah Olson, James Newbury, all the great Romwat athletes were there, and I got to build relationships with them. I met Craig and Jazz there for the first time, and Heber and Marston. So that trip, just like the connections I made and the work that's come from that trip that I can point back to that single trip was unreal. So that opportunity, really helped me along and really kind of accelerated my growth. Yeah.
Yeah. Did you know leading up to it that it could be like a life changing opportunity?
No, I didn't know that the Romwat. I didn't know who was going to be there. So I thought it was going to be me, Cara, and Matt, and then just a bunch of random Hawaiians. I
Yeah.
didn't know that so many CrossFit athletes and personalities come to support the event. So yeah, I had no idea that I was going to meet all these amazing people in the space. Yeah, yeah. Actually, I remember the very first night, we walked into a dinner, and yeah, it was the craziest experience walking into a room and everyone that you followed over the last 10 years, all the athletes, all the
Yeah,
business
because
people,
you've been doing
all the,
CrossFit, like you're kind of like OG at doing CrossFit, so
oh
all those
man,
guys.
I've been following all these people for so long, and
Yeah,
to walk into a room and they're all there, at a table, it was a crazy experience. Yeah.
that's great. And you say you're self-taught, so obviously, like the first time you grab a camera and uh, just any type of camera, you didn't know what you were doing. How do you get to the point that you start feeling comfortable with working with clients? Like, do you have anybody helping you learn everything, or pretty much just kind of like YouTube, how to set my aperture, what's ISO?
That's it, man. Yeah, it literally was just YouTube tutorials, and then just backing myself and jumping in the deep end, And I mean, I go back and look at some of the stuff I created for clients, 2 or 3 years back, and I'm like, man, that should not be out in the world. Like, they should not have paid me for that work. But yeah, I just loved it so much that I just had to do it. And so yeah, I just jumped in the deep end. I mean, I still rock up to jobs now and think, oh man, I don't know if I'm equipped to do this. Like, I don't know if I'm good enough to work for this client, to shoot for this client. Um, yeah, so I just jumped in the deep end, man, and just did hours and hours of learning and experimenting. That's really all it was. No one taught me anything. Yeah.
Yeah, I feel like we all go through that though. That feeling or that thought that you that we're not good enough to do something, even though like we might have the the experience and the skills, but there's always
Yeah.
that thought like, can I do this? Like, can I pull it off? Is it
Yeah.
gonna be good enough? The client's gonna is it gonna like it?
That's it.
So
Yeah,
um
man.
just and I've had people on the show that they've been doing it, like for example Michael Dalton. They've been doing it for so long, and they still feel the same. They have the same thoughts, which is blows my mind because I've been doing it for, let me see, 2018, so kind of like 4 years full time, right? and and obviously like I still consider myself kind of like new in the game, but somebody like Michael that still think the same, it's like it makes me
No.
feel a little better. It's like we're all here learning every time we go out there. It's just learning and learning.
Yeah. I think it's a great attitude, a great thing to have, because it keeps you hungry. When you feel like you're not good enough, you're always working harder to be better. I can imagine if you think, oh yeah, I've got this covered. I'm the man. I know everything that there is to know about this. It's going to stop innovation. It's going to stop you experimenting and being excited about what you do. So I think it's healthy having that bit of fear of like, oh man, I need to keep learning and getting better because I'm not good enough. So I think
Absolutely.
it drives you, that attitude. Yeah, it's good.
And I also love when I see other creators put out stuff that just blows my mind. It just makes me like, gosh, like I need
And
to get better. It's like sometimes you can get a little too like complacent with where you at, and then somebody else gonna throw something at you that you're gonna be like, okay, yes, people are getting better. You gotta
yeah,
keep working on it. And you said you started around 2019, right, with content creation.
yeah.
Did you have anybody that kind of like inspire you? Like, do you look up to anybody at during those times?
Yeah, so I mean, on YouTube, like Casey Neistat, Peter McKinnon, Matty Apoya, Jesse Driftwood, those are some of the names that jump out of me. Sam Calder, like just the classic creators on YouTube, were big inspirations of mine. But then in our space, I've always looked up to the Buttery Bros, to Hebrew and Mars, and the stuff they create, and also Craig. Just Craig's work ethic and storytelling is like incredible. People don't realize how hard it is to be in front of the camera and to be natural and not put on a show and put on a character. And I think no one's better than Craig than just being himself in front of the camera. Like he's so natural. He doesn't have to try. He's just Craig. And so yeah, so both Craig and the Buddy Bros were really big inspirations of mine. And so those guys were both at Hawaii in the same room that I walked into that night at dinner. So it was crazy to meet them as well. And I've worked with both of those guys now since. So it's cool.
Yeah, I feel like you're pretty good in front of a camera though, but I hate it. It's something that I mean, I do it now because I have to for a podcast, but I try to avoid it as much
Yeah.
as possible. I
Yeah.
remember in college, I played sports, NCAA sports in college, and every time they were gonna interview me or something, it was, dude, it was the worst time ever. And
Yeah.
at that point, at that point, my English was even worse than now. So I that was I remember one time it took me. I mean, the guy was just like, "Okay, we can try again." It took like, I don't know, 10 minutes for me to say 4 words.
Oh, bro.
So
If you
that's why I
saw,
try
if
to
you
stay. That's why I try to stay behind the camera as much as I can.
yeah, absolutely. Yeah. If you saw my YouTube filming, it's hilarious. Like the amount of takes I have to do, because I speak very fast naturally, and sometimes I still struggle with English words, and yeah, I get pretty upset in front of the camera by myself here at home sometimes. Yeah,
Yeah.
yeah,
So I feel like I knew who you were before the games because I saw you somewhere, but at the CrossFit Games when I saw like your stuff kind of like going kind of like taking off even more than before. You had the opportunity to work with Mat Fraser and HWPO, and I feel like you took full advantage of the whole experience, right? Like, you created great content, but at the same time, you told people your experience. You shared with people how was your even the 2 weeks they had to quarantine after the game. So tell me from the beginning, like, how do you get the job? Sammy kind of talked about it, saying that it was like, or I guess it wasn't Sam, it was Eric. Yeah, Eric talked about like having to apply, and then from there, kind of like things escalated. So how was the experience with you?
yeah, man. So first of all, I'm still riding the high from last year's games and that experience. Like this whole year I've just been, you know, most days I think about the fact that I worked with Mat Fraser at the games last year, and it just makes me smile. Like it was a crazy story. So they put out the ad saying, "Hey, we're looking for a creator to work with us at the games," but they made it very clear that they wanted someone that could then perhaps work with them ongoing. So they're looking for a longer term relationship. And so I emailed the application, my application in, and said, "Look, I know I probably can't work with you guys going forwards, like long term, but I'd love to come and be part of your team at the games." And Sammy got back to me saying, "Hey, we know who you are, we love your stuff, but yeah, we're looking for someone local, you know." So I was like, "Yeah, that's cool, that's fair enough." I just thought I'll try, you know. And then I went on a holiday with my family and to New Zealand, and I want to say it was 2 weeks out from the games, 2 weeks before the games. I got an email from Sammy, and it said, "Hey, we haven't found anyone that we kind of connect with yet. Would you still be keen to come over and create our vlogs for us over the games?" And I couldn't believe it. So this was at the very like height of COVID, and no one was traveling. Like there was just no one traveling. There was no flights from Australia to the States. And so trying to get a flight within 2 weeks, it was a nightmare. I ended up having to book on business class both ways because there was no like normal flights over there. So I ended up financing my flights just to get over there. I was like, this is the opportunity of a lifetime. It doesn't matter how much it costs. I'll just make it happen, and then I'll pay it back later, you know. And so I just financed these business class flights over, which was cool. And yeah, man, just spend the week with Matt and Sammy at the games. It was a dream come true, you know. Like getting picked up. I got picked up by Matt in Vermont at like 1 a.m. And it was just the coolest experience, you know. Mat Fraser parking up with his big truck outside the airport and picking you up. Yeah, it doesn't get any better than that, right? So I was actually there on my birthday. The next day was my birthday, so I spent my birthday with Matt and Sammy shooting guns and eating Sammy's good food and training with Matt. It was just a dream.
Yeah, those are pretty surreal experiences. I went to Vermont about 2 weeks ago to shoot some of the Madrid Championship videos. And once I got there, Sammy picked me up. She's like, "Hey," I was like, "Sammy, I met you at Waterpalooza. I don't know if you remember." She's like, "Yeah, of course I remember. I've been listening to some of your podcast episodes," and it just kind of like just blew my mind. I'm like, "Wow, Sammy." And then out of nowhere, we made it happen, and she went into an episode as well. Episode, I think it's 9. It was with Sammy, which was also a cool experience. But talking about your experience with them, I feel like you took full advantage of that as well. You were also blogging like your way there once you got there, and you kind of like your YouTube channel got some engagement because of like how you were putting your experience out there, and that's something that content creators are like very I feel like it's very attractive for content creators to see like, okay, let me see how it's like experience whenever somebody gets a job, and obviously it's a completely different country, and you kind of like, you capture the whole thing. And I remember seeing some of it, and it was super interesting. And I can just tell by the way you were talking, you were like on a high, super excited to be there.
Yeah, man. I mean, it's really tough when you've got your own channel and you want to create content for that. Often the most interesting times to film is when you're working with amazing athletes and amazing brands, but obviously you're there to create content for them. So you don't want to come across that you're taking advantage in a negative way of the situation and just creating content for yourself. I think that's a huge mistake. And so I just asked Matt, like I remember the first day I was there, we were going to shoot some guns in the backyard, and I said, "Hey, are you happy for me to film this?" Just asked him if you're happy for me to vlog this, and he said, "Yeah, of course, man." So it's just being open and honest with that. So, asking if you can create content for yourself, and then, doing your best to fit it in where you can between doing work for the client. So, so most of my content was my personal content was mostly after the games, just recapping what happened.
Yep.
And but at the games, I was just switched on and 100% focused on the
100%
HWPO work.
HWPO.
Yeah, that's it.
Yeah. And how was that experience with working with HWPO at the games? Just tell me from the moment you wake up, how does it work? Does Sammy and Matt sit you down and they're like, "Hey, we're gonna need this amount of content, or they kind of like give you creative freedom to do your stuff?
Yeah, I mean, Sammy's amazing, man. She really chooses people that she believes in and is comfortable letting go. Like, the reason she chooses people is because she likes their work, and she wants to produce the stuff that they already produce. Like, she doesn't try and make you create something that you don't feel comfortable creating. So yeah, she gave me complete freedom over those 2 vlogs I created for them at the games. I was lucky. Eric had the short end of the stick, because he had to create content like on the go, whereas I could create content and not I could shoot and not actually create anything until I finished the games the week after. So the vlogs that I created for Matt and Sammy weren't due until like a week or 2 after the games. So I was lucky I could sit in my hotel and just chill out and edit the week after. So it wasn't too stressful. It was pretty relaxed. I mean, they're so busy at the games with running the HWPO workouts in the morning and then doing booth appearances at like Rogue and stuff like that. So the days just flew by so quick, because we'd shoot the workout in the morning, then we might go and watch one workout, then we might go and do an appearance. So there's always something happening. But yeah, there was also quite a bit of downtime where I couldn't be in the areas where Matt and Sammy went into. So for example, at the field, the area that they were sitting in, we couldn't go in there. So me and Eric would just be down on the field just shooting content of the athletes. So we weren't with Matt and Sammy the whole time. Yeah, it was a great way to see the games, like to see it from Matt's perspective. Yeah, it was really cool, man. Really cool.
Absolutely. When making I'm trying to think how did it work with making the blogs? Kind of like, do you have an idea of what they needed, or they pretty much kind of like they tell you, hey, just capture whatever you want to capture and then put in a 10-minute video style for our YouTube channel?
Yeah, so we kind of agreed prior that we'd do 2 videos, like 2 vlogs over the week. And so it made sense to kind of do, I think the games is 4 days worth of individual competition maybe. So it made sense just to do day 1 and 2 in the first vlog and day 3 and 4 in the second vlog. But yeah, other than that, it was literally just, I pretty much hit record when I arrived, and I never stopped hitting record. I just filmed everything. I just didn't want to miss anything, So yeah, I had a lot of footage to get through to kind of work through to get the content that I wanted. But I very much made the story up after the fact. I didn't go into it with much of a plan or much of a story.
Yeah, until
because
after the.
Yeah, and it was Matt's first time at the games as a spectator, so we didn't know what to expect. He didn't know what to expect. So everything was new and novel. So yeah, I just made sure I captured everything and didn't miss a moment, and then just try to show the best of that in the vlogs, and I think they came out really good.
I think you did a great job, and the fact that it was just you, I think it was very impressive. Most of the big companies, they have two or three people shooting, and then they all have hands-on on the edit. So just what you did by yourself, it's very well done.
Yeah, thanks, man.
So we have here Mikey.
Mikey.
Bakey. You have to say it. What's up, you sexy beast?
Why are you such a sexy beast? Oh, Mikey. I don't know, just natural sexy beast.
Yeah, tell me the intro. What's up, you sexy beast? You have to say it from 3, 2, 1, go.
What's up, you sexy beasts?
There you go. That's all I wanted from this episode. I just wanted you to say it.
What is up, you sexy beasts? Yeah, classic. Yeah, man, that came about actually as a young guy, like at school. I was so insecure. About the way I looked, and I was a pretty awkward kid, and I had really low confidence. And one of the older kids in school, one time, I think you could tell that I was struggling. He was like one of the leaders at school, one of the seniors, and I remember him just coming up behind me, putting his hand on my back and saying, "Mate, lift your head up. You're a sexy beast." And it always stuck with me. This really cool older dude telling me to keep my head up and called me a sexy beast, and that term just stuck with me. And so for me, it just means that I am someone who can be confident, and I've got worth. And so I just want to encourage other people as well that they are sexy beasts. They can be confident and they are worthy people. So yeah,
that's awesome. And that you also show that with your content creation, you know, trying to help other people. That's probably stuck in your head, kind of like somebody helping you with the way you look, like how confident you can get by just saying
That's
something
it.
like that. And it means a lot to other people. Just like, hey, dude,
It
keep your
does.
head up. That video was not a failure. Like, you are doing great. You know, keep
That's it,
working
man.
hard.
That's it. So that's what that's about. Yeah.
I didn't know that story. That's pretty cool.
Yeah.
We have a question from Jordan Levin. What advice would you give to someone who's still new in the CrossFit space about making good connections?
Um, and I did a lot of free work at the start. I remember my first few vlogs, I just connected with athletes and just said, hey, can I come to your house or to your gym and just create a vlog and I'll shoot some photos for you to use on social media. So I always paired my content that I wanted to shoot with some free content for the athlete or the brand. So I got something out of the experience, but I also gave them some content. And, you know, once you've done like 5 or 10 athletes, all their connections see the great content you're creating for them. So like once you leave from that athlete, they go ahead and they post the photos that you've given them, and you know their sponsors and the people that they know see the photos, and that's how I feel like that's how my work's come about, as just just shooting for free for athletes, and then their brands end up reaching out. A great example of this would be like Under Armour. I shot a great photo of James Newbury in Hawaii, and Under Armour reached out. This has happened so many times. So I would encourage you to try and connect with the influential athletes or personalities that are close to your city. Just find the most well-known, famous athletes that's close to you. You can go to and just say, "Hey, can I come and create some content for free for you?" And then, if you just do your best to give them the good stuff, and hopefully, if it's good enough, obviously your stuff has to be good. Like we can't lie about the fact that the content has to be like good enough for brands to want to use it and use you again. You know, so yes, you have to put yourself out there and go and build these relationships, but your craft has to be at a level where it's worth a brand reaching out as well. So just keep honing your craft and be really intentional about the relationships. You know, like it's so inconvenient. You know, like shooting up in Brisbane with Royce, I've got to drive an hour and a half, and then drive an hour and a half back. It's 3 hours of driving. I've got no guarantee that I'm going to get any work from it, but I just did it anyway. I just went and created content for free for him and for a bunch of athletes, and good stuff came from it. So that'd be my best advice.
Yeah, that's a great advice. Um, just making those connections is so important.
Yeah.
Even taking full advantage of the whole experience. Obviously, you're shooting an athlete, but you don't want to be that guy that just goes, shoots. Okay, thank you, thanks for opportunity, and go.
Yeah.
It's always good to make that good connection. Then from there, another opportunity is gonna happen.
Yeah,
We
and
have
I always try and give the athlete some content like straight away. Like I'll normally try and edit like 1 or 2 photos on my phone straight away, give it to them before I leave, and then when I get home, I'll do the rest of the photos or the video clips. But I always try and show them that, hey, I'm really keen to give you some good stuff to share. You know, athletes are always after content, man.
Yeah, true. Okay, there's a good question from Jay. Let's expand a little more. He asked, what does your coloring process look like? I want to also expand it to how, like, what picture you use Sony, right? So what picture profile you use? Do you shoot log? You shoot Cine
Yeah.
4? So let's start from there, and then your coloring process, color grading.
Yeah. So up until recently, up until the start of this year, I was shooting with no picture profile, and then this year I've started shooting S-Log 2. So I'm definitely not a camera setting nerd. Like I don't geek out on the settings too much. And same with the color grading. Like I use other people's presets and LUTs, and then I'll make adjustments from there. You know, I think this is probably a bit of a misconception or a myth, where people look at a creator stuff and I'm sure there are lots of creators that do create their own stuff from scratch, their own LUTs and presets. But I would venture to say that the majority of creators start off by using someone else's LUTs and presets and then making adjustments from there. And that's definitely what I do. Absolutely. Like I'm not confident still at this stage. I'm not confident creating a preset or a LUT from scratch. although there's guys like Eric who's really good at this stuff where you can just create something from scratch. I very much find a look or a preset that I like from another creator, and then I'll make adjustments from there. So so that's my process still to this day. Yeah.
So that's similar to what I do. I shoot S-Log 3, and I use the Phantom LUTs. So I pretty much just use that Phantom LUT to bring it back to a good solid Rec 709, and then from there I just put my style to it. But
Yeah.
as you said, like for my photos too, I started with a preset that a creator had. He put it out there like, hey, buy my presets, whatever. And then
Yep.
from there, it's been like evolving so much. I think I started like 3 years ago, maybe. And then from there, just kind of like making changes until I find my, like, what I like. So yeah, it
Yeah.
kind of like it, you can tell like, oh yeah, you got it from somebody, but it's kind of like the evolution of like, I put my style to it, So it's like both.
Yeah. So my video LUT I've used for maybe 3 years now. It's a wedding LUT that I found that I just fell in love with, and I haven't really switched from that since that day. So yeah, man. Yeah, it's an interesting one because I feel like you get creators that are really into this stuff and really knowledgeable. I'm not that person at all. Yeah, I'm very much about getting out there and shooting the content. But as far as the editing process go, I try and make it as easy as possible for myself. Try and find things and the thing is, if you shoot things in camera well, it makes it so much easier in the post production, right? Like if the
Absolutely.
if the exposure is already like done well, it just makes your job so much easier, and it's you don't have to fight with the footage so much in post. And so that's what I try and do. I try and just make it really perfect in camera on the day, so that I don't have to spend much time editing the photo or the video, because I'm not that great at it. Yeah.
What editing software do you use?
I'm a Final Cut. I mean, if you're using anything else but Final Cut, what are you doing with your life? If you're using
Hey,
Premiere, what are you
I'm
doing
a
with your life?
I'm a I'm a Final
Oh,
Cut Pro gang
oh,
too.
you are? Yeah, I know.
Yeah, yeah,
Like,
I am.
if you're a Premiere Pro user, like,
I
yeah, I
made
don't
the
understand.
switch in 2020. I used to use Premiere, and
Good
in
man.
2020, I posted something on my Facebook. I'm like, hey, is anybody else having issues with Premiere, like crashing every 2 minutes? And
Yeah,
one of my buddies called me. He's like, bro, you shoot Sony, right? I'm like, yeah. You have a Max, right? Like iPhone, everything. I'm like, yeah. He's like, dude, that buys Final Cut Pro today is gonna change your life. And
that's
I
it,
mean,
man.
I do get it. I do get the fact that Premiere is like industry standard, right? Like most people, whenever you apply for a job, they tell you need to know Premiere.
Yeah,
But for me, it's been Final Cut. It's been a great experience. It's just it works. I mean, it's fast, and I also feel like I learned how to edit on iMovie. So it was like the whole
yeah,
like magnetic timeline was something I was already familiar with. So
yes,
it was an easy like transition to it.
yeah.
We have
Here's my top advice for this podcast. If you shoot Canon, sell them and buy Sony's, and if you don't have a Mac, throw your computer in the bin and buy a Mac. And if you're not on Final Cut Pro, get on Final Cut Pro. Nah, I mean,
I
I
like
love
it.
shooting.
I'm with you.
I love Final Cut Pro and I love my Mac. Yeah.
And if you shoot
um,
Nikon, what?
oh, go to Africa and shoot some wildlife. No,
We have Carly Creative, Carly Johnson. She
Carly,
asked, "Are you excited for Torian?"
I'm so excited, and I feel like maybe Carly's coming over for
Yeah,
this.
she's already there.
She's already here.
Uh-huh.
Carly, what are you doing? Come to my house. Come and train. Um, yeah, I'm like, we're just over 1 week away, and I've never been so excited. We've got Tia back, we've got Jamie Green back, we've got Ricky Garrard back. It's the Oceania semi-final is going to be the greatest.
Oh,
It's going
dude,
to be unreal.
it's gonna be a great experience. We
Can't
have
wait.
we have Josie here.
That's
Akey,
it.
the boss, miss you, man.
Sup, my man. I've spent a lot of time with Josie. He's one of the greatest creators in the I'd say probably the hardest working creator in the space. He's just
I
such a
know
hustler. I love
he's
Josie.
hustling all day. He told me on the podcast that he shoots every day from like 9 to 5,
Yeah,
and then goes straight to edit.
yeah.
Which
Chef,
he's
man,
doing
the
great
chef.
things though. Like the Hype Machine Sports Group that
Yeah,
he created, and he's doing awesome things, man. He works really hard, and I really, wish anything but the best. He deserves
yeah,
it. He's one of those dudes that you see grinding all the time, and he's gonna make it big.
yeah. Well, here's what I love about Josie. He's really embraced the athletes in his area, right? Like, I think often we can think, oh man, I'm in Australia, I'm nowhere near all these big name athletes. Like, I'm not in the States. I'll never make it because I just don't have access to these amazing athletes. And it's bull. Like, you just have to embrace the people and the athletes around you and showcase them. So if you feel like you're just too far away, you know, in some corner of the world, and you don't have access to these athletes, just find the best brands and the best athletes and the best gyms in your area, and just, you know, showcase them, make them famous, you know. And I think Josie's done that really well. He's really embraced, you know, that team in Mallorca and the athletes there, the European athletes. He's really gone hard at showing them off, and it's so cool. I love it. Yeah,
I agree. We have a question here. I'm not gonna put it on the screen because it has the word that might ban the video. But it says, "How has the pandemic, pretty much, just put it that way, impacted you and your work over the last 2 years?" From Brian.
Yeah, like a few opportunities missed for sure. Like, I really wanted to go to Dubai, and I really wanted to go to Miami, to Wadapalooza. I could have shot with HWPO at Wadapalooza. That was all lined up, but it was just too hard to fly from over here. So, yeah, it was hard, man. Like, the first year, or the first kind of after the games, when I got back from the games, things shut down pretty badly, and so I was pretty negative and pretty dark there for a while. Like, just gutted at all these opportunities that I couldn't pursue. But again, I had to just realize that, you know what, this is a good opportunity to go hard on my own personal content, my own personal brand. And so I think if you're someone who's wanting to build something for yourself, like your own podcast, your own channel, in those times where you can't get around to events and athletes, it's a great opportunity to just double down on your own content. And so that's what I've done. Like, kind of got excited about my own channel again and started producing more content for myself. So, but yeah, it's definitely affected me. Definitely lost some opportunities for sure. Not being able to travel, and I'm still not 100% sure I'll be able to make it to the games. Like, I really want to. Yeah, we'll just see how it goes. Yeah.
Is it still hard to travel back and forth?
Yeah, if you're not vaccinated, it is. Yeah, I mean, there's still challenges. I think it's, yeah, I think if yeah, it depends on your status in that sense. Yeah.
So I remember the first time I saw your work, you were doing some type of like design with the photos. So you will take the photo, right? And then you will like draw stuff. And that's kind of like how I got introduced to your work. At that point, I didn't know really who you were, but I was very like, you know, it got me right away. I'm like, oh gosh, like this is cool. This is super different. And I feel like that's one of the things that you do very well, is that you always try to do something different. Like, your work doesn't really, like, it's very unique. You know what I mean? Like, you don't do too many things that you see out there, even with your videos, like the things that you do in the videos. How do you find that inspiration? Like, where do you get the creativity from?
Yeah, so I got to give a big shout out to my man Nicky IB, sorry, if he's watching. So as a creator I follow on YouTube called Chris Howe, and I saw him post a photo once, and there was these doodles on them, and and he tagged the person who did all the doodles. That's Nick IB. So I've been staying in touch with him quite a bit. Actually, he did some art for Matt and Sammy recently. He did some amazing art for them and dropped it to their house. But yeah, the doodling is something that I kind of picked up from him. Just learned how to do that on Procreate with like an iPencil and the iPad. It's a lot of fun. But yeah, it's like you say, man, it's just trying to find ways to make your content stand out and look different. And so I kind of went deep on the doodling for a while there, and I was doing like the I don't even know what you call them, like little lightning bolt kind of stuff in my videos.
Yeah.
My first one actually was the one of Rich. I
with
did that
with
one.
the M, with the Mayhem M.
No, even before that, I did one at the Torium Pro. I did one where it's like a video of him snatching, and it's got like a Kanye West song in the background. I remember posting that and then going to bed, and I think that video might be the one that pushed me over 10,000. I was at like 5,000 followers on Instagram. Posted that video, went to bed, woke up, and my phone was just going crazy. And I think that video took me over 10,000 because Rich reshared it at the time. So yeah, man, I love just finding unique ways to make my videos look a bit different and my photos look different. It takes a bit more work to kind of learn these techniques, but it's worth it. Yeah.
I feel like in in our industry, that's like the hardest thing to find something that makes you stand out, because there's a lot of us doing really cool stuff.
Yeah.
And I struggle with that all the time. Sometimes I'm like looking at my pictures and my videos, and I'm like, what can I do to like to make it stand out, like to make it look different, because I want people to look at my photos and know that it was me. I want them to
Yeah.
be like, okay, this was definitely Bound Media. And
Yes.
and I struggle with that. It just kind of like, even before I go to bed, sometimes I'm like, I'm first of all, I'm really bad at I struggle to fall asleep. So before bed, it's when I start like all my ideas is like running through my mind, and that just gets me all the time. And the things that you do, it definitely makes you stand out. I remember watching those videos back in the day, and I'm like, gosh, this is so cool. I don't even know how he makes stuff like this.
Well, I think you can go two ways. You can go down the route where you keep the same look and like the same picture profile, same kind of presets and LUTs forever, and just establish your look. Like again, Eric's a great example of this. Training Day
Yeah,
Media is a great example of this. It's just like undoubtedly their photos because they've never changed. Like that's just the way they edit, and that's it. I get too bored. Like I can't keep the same look for too long. I get bored with a certain look. So I got to keep changing the look and feel of my photos and videos. So I've had the same issue. I'm like, oh, people are not going to be able to recognize my work because it's always changing. And so I've had to find ways to make it mine, make it unique. And I think the
yeah,
doodling was probably what it was about, was making it stand out and a bit different. Yeah.
absolutely. But there's also a way, it's like adapting, right? Because you don't want to. Obviously, Eric has his style, but I'm sure that he will. Like right now, it's very trendy, but I'm sure he will adapt into
Sure.
different. I guess it'll always be similar, but
Yeah.
he will be adapting into like something new,
Absolutely.
because that's just the way he is. He's like, super creative. And
Totally.
I mean,
That guy's so creative, man.
yeah,
He's so good. Yeah. He's just a cool guy in general. Yeah.
we
Oh, here we
have a
go.
Proven Fitness,
I
which
want to
is
know. I want to know.
most likely that's Patty.
Yeah, I want to know
Patty,
who's running the proven channels because
I'm
they've been
90,
commenting on things. Maybe it's Patty. Yeah,
I'm
lovely Patty.
98% sure it's Patty.
What's up, Patty? Oh, there you go.
I'm just that
Uh,
Vykie.
what a muppet! You're a muppet, Patty. I can't wait to see Patty next week.
Yeah, have you
Yeah.
known him for a while?
Yeah, so me, Patty, and Josie have spent a lot of time together, traveling and working together. Yeah, so we first all hung out at Torium Pro in 2019 when Rich came over, and then we went to Dubai that same year together and shared a room and shot together. It was awesome. So yeah, me and Patty and Josie are tight. Yeah. Oh, and then Miami, we did Waterpalooza together as well, 2020. So yeah, so cool.
Your name, and during the first episode that I did, Scott mentioned your name. We were talking about like the international scene in content creation, and he mentioned your name, he mentioned Josie's name. He said like, yeah, they do great stuff, and I feel like they're everywhere. Like every time I see like a competition somewhere else, they're there. What are your thoughts on on like the international scene of content creation? Obviously it's just growing with the sport, but what do you think about it, and who are some of the content creators that you enjoy the work that they do, just international scene?
Yeah, man. I think we have something really special in the CrossFit space where creators are really valued by brands and athletes. You know, the athletes just champion us in our sport. Like they really do. They really view us as their equals, or if not even above them. Like they just the way they treat us. They really value our work, and I'm not sure what it's like in other sports and how media is viewed, but I feel like we have a really unique kind of ecosystem in the CrossFit space where, media is really valued, and we are all really tight. Like even now, like me chatting to you, I don't know if this is normal in any other sport where one creator, is trying to show another creator's work and lift their profile. Like it's pretty special. So yeah, man, I want to travel as much as I can and be as many events as I can. I do have a wife and a kid, so I've got some responsibilities at home. So traveling is not always the easiest for me. With someone like Josie, you can just travel and got no care in the world, just a
Yep.
lone wolf. Yeah, man. So I mean, yeah, people that, like, someone that I really looked up to and really inspired me was Training Day Media. Dave really inspired me through his work in the early days. And then, like I said, in the video space, definitely the Buttery Bros and Craig. Trying to think who else. Yeah, I mean, BC Visions. His videos are just stupidly good, man. Like, yeah, that guy's got some skills. So his videos definitely get me going. Yeah, I mean, even CrossFit at the moment, like even CrossFit HQ are bringing some really cool stuff. I'm really really impressed by the content that they're putting out at the moment. The quality is amazing. I mean, it's always been, but they're putting out some pretty unique and cool stuff at the moment. So I saw a video of Haley Adams yesterday, like a slow-mo video, just kind of panning around her, and it was so sick.
Yeah, that was Richard Bloomer.
Yeah, so good, man. With the voiceover, it's
very
so awesome.
good. Yeah, I think I saw it this morning. It's really good. I had Richard. I think he was episode 3. Such a great dude and super talented as well.
That's
But
cool.
as you were saying, like I mention it often on the podcast, that everybody, like all the content creators in this industry, they're very kind with each other. Like we share, every time we go, I'm trying to get like the lighting like outside, it's like hitting my face. Every time we travel, every time we go to a competition, it's like we always find time to like hang out and like have a good talk, and like we always like kind of like help each other in some way, right? Like we post a picture that you took and we're like, dude, that's thank you so much for taking this picture of me. And like it's there's really good, it's a good vibe overall. I've
Absolutely.
shot other events and other sports that maybe it's because I'm not that into those sports or that kind of like industry, but it doesn't seem like that, like every time I go shoot something else, it's like, one photographer is this way, they don't even interact with you, right? I feel like in the CrossFit scene, we are very, like we like to share moments with each other, right? And that's probably one of the reasons why I like this so much. I always say that um I do CrossFit content creation mainly because I'm really passionate about the whole community. I really enjoy the sport by itself. I do it. I do CrossFit, but I also enjoy the whole community. It just gives me like, I feel like it was almost like a life-changing experience whenever I found CrossFit. And obviously I enjoy it. It's almost like it doesn't feel like work, right?
That's it.
Obviously the money and all that, like, yeah, but for me it's a passion more than a job, I feel like, when it comes to CrossFit specifically.
Yeah, I agree. I feel exactly the same way. I can't believe what I get to do every day, and it's like you say, it doesn't feel like work. It just feels like it's following your passion, which is, yeah, it's cool, man. It's been so cool to see so many more content creators come into the space. I feel like even back in 2019 when I started, I feel like there was only a handful. I'm sure all the others were out there doing it, but now it's a lot more front facing. It's a lot more of this kind of stuff happening where people are sharing each other's work, and it's awesome, man. It's cool.
Absolutely. Whenever I ask you, hey, tell me a little bit about you on Instagram so I can write an introduction, you mentioned at the end that your main passion is to be a husband and a father. Tell me about why that's your main I mean, I can only imagine why is it, but tell me how important is your family for you. And
yeah, man. I think, as someone who's pretty passionate about his work, I've fallen into the trap before where I just get consumed by my work and everything else takes a back seat. And I've just made the decision that I will always make sure my wife and my daughter are number one, that their needs are met, and that if I become a famous videographer, creator, but my wife and my daughter aren't happy, then I've failed at life. Like, what have I done? But if I can, if my wife's happy and content and my daughter's got a smile on her face and she's happy and she feels like she's valued, then to me that's the greatest success. So I try and work really hard to create boundaries, and I'm sure anyone that's listening that's a parent would be able to resonate with this. But just creating boundaries between work and family relationships, it's so important. And it's hard when you're working from home. Like, I'm in the office now at home and they're outside, so it's just it's just being smart with creating boundaries to make sure that they don't feel like you're always working, you know, because I could just work and do this 24/7, you know. Yeah, man. So that really is my number one goal, is just to make sure those girls are happy and feeling valued and secure and safe. And yeah.
Yeah, and I feel like it's very hard because you can, as you say, you can be consumed by work. It's
Mm,
like one of those things that we start working on a project, and sometimes you forget about like the outside world, and all you care
yeah.
is finishing the project, or I don't know if you have an opportunity with a client, and then sometimes it's almost like, oh gosh, like I let go of things that are more important than just work, right? Obviously, I cannot talk with experience because I don't have a family like you do. But I can only imagine having kids, and it's so important to
Yeah.
know what's your purpose in life, know your what's your main goal and why you're doing it, right? Because obviously you wanna give her the best possible life, and that's the reason why you're doing this, right? You're working in a way to give you have a daughter, right?
Yeah.
Okay,
Yep.
to give your daughter the best possible life.
Yeah. And I mean, you can look at it the other way as well. Like she needs me to be happy. And so
Exactly.
if I was doing anything else but creating content, I wouldn't be happy, you know. And so,
True.
so I
You gotta
think,
find a balance between the
yeah, and
two.
you got to find that thing that sets you alight and that you love doing, because that's gonna that happiness that you're gonna have in your heart's gonna overflow, right? But I think even if you don't have a partner, like a wife or a husband or a kid, you know, you still have friends, you still have, you know, mums and dads, you still have your fitness and your health. And I think, yeah, a lot of this stuff gets neglected because we're so consumed by our work. And I think one thing I try and do is I try and hold my stuff pretty loose, like my work, and that um, yeah, like I'm not willing to sacrifice like my health, my sleep, my family time anymore for creating some video that might not even do well, or a photo that might not even get that many likes or views. So I try and hold my stuff pretty lightly, and if I have to spend less time on that video or that photo, then so be it. You just got to just get those priorities right, and just realize that for longevity in life, like you have to get enough sleep, you have to get your health and fitness, sorted, because otherwise, yeah, you won't last for the long term. Yeah,
Absolutely. And in my own experience, that's something I've really tried to take into consideration. I feel like last year I've always been super active. Back in the day, 2018, 19, I was competing a little bit in CrossFit. I was in really good shape. Once I started getting more into content creation, like you start getting busier, getting more jobs. And I kind of like fell into that, like, oh, I'm gonna work on this video today. I'm not gonna work out. And I can see my life, I mean, not my life, but like my health kind of like decreasing every day almost. I gained some weight, and it was like, it's almost like y- I, as you said, I felt consumed by work, and I stopped caring
yeah,
about the priorities in life, and all I care was like, oh, I gotta do this, and I gotta work, and
yeah.
then, but yeah, definitely this year that's something that I've been really working on. It's getting back into doing healthy stuff, working out, sleeping 8 hours.
That's it.
Even though, I mean, it's tough to sleep 8 hours sometimes. You know how it goes with the stuff that we do, but definitely super important.
Yeah, for sure, man. Yeah, for sure.
And
Yeah,
I always ask this question, uh, mo- always whenever my guests have a family. How's your time management like approach? Do you use any type of like, do you plan the day before? What do you do to manage your time having a wife, a kid, and also a full-time job or full-time business?
yeah. I've pretty much just set. I don't use any like time management software or apps or anything, but I've just set boundaries for myself. So my daughter and my wife, they leave home at 7:30 in the morning to go to school. So I just make a decision that I don't come to my computer and work until they've left. So that's normally like 8 a.m. So I can't start work before 8 a.m. And then they get home at like 3:30. So I just work till then. So I've just kind of set myself like that's my time to work. It's 8 in the morning till 3:30, and that's all I do. So um, yeah, I've just kind of stuck with that. And sometimes I'll do some more work once they go to sleep at nighttime. But for the most part, I try and just bang it out during those hours. And it's been really good because it means I can fit in some fitness in the afternoon and some family time. So yeah, nothing crazy. on the time management stuff. Just strict boundaries that I've just kind of stuck with over time, and it's working really well. So yeah. Yeah, and this communicating, I think, like, there's sometimes we've got bigger projects that will demand more time and maybe will demand some work on the weekends. It's just about saying, hey, babe, I've got this big project on this weekend. I'm going to have to spend some time in front of the computer. And I find most of the time, if they know ahead of time, it's all good. It's when you don't communicate and then you're just like in front of the computer working on the weekend. And then she's like, what are you doing? It's a weekend. Come and spend time with us. And that's when it gets, when things blow up. So just communicating ahead of time is the key. Yeah.
It's a great advice, communication for sure.
Yeah. We all know it's just actually doing it. Yeah.
What are your plans, or not plans? What are your goals for the future?
Yeah. So my goals personally, I want to be able to create content for myself 100% of the time. So I want to get to the point where I'm not working for brands or athletes or events. Although I'd always like to be able to do that if I wanted to. My goal is to be able to be a full-time YouTuber and just create my own content that I want to create and make a living from that. So that balance is slowly reversing. Like at the moment, I freelance videography, photography for clients and brands. 20%, my own content. But then I feel like it's slowly reversing to the point where it's, I'm starting to make a bit more income through my own stuff.
Just working hard, you make it there, and you're doing stuff. Absolutely. Thank you for over 1 hour and 7 minutes, which it flew by. We need to have you back on another episode, hopefully, about do something after the games. But I really appreciate you taking the time to be on the show, to answering some of the questions that some of the people in the chat, and just sharing your knowledge with me and with everybody else. So I really appreciate that, man.
No worries, man. I appreciate you having me on, and I'd love to come back in. It'd be great.
Absolutely, man. Anytime. Before we go, what's next for Wykie?
Well, next week we're hitting Torian, baby. Next week's Torian Pro, and then hopefully the CrossFit Games. Yeah.
There you go. All right. Yeah, there you have it. All right, guys. Please, if you like what Wykie, if you haven't seen what Wykie does, please follow him. His Instagram's right there on the screen. It's Wykie Etsebeth, his name. You can also subscribe to his YouTube channel. Just search for his name. I think it might be Vix Etsebeth, right? That's just it, with a KS instead. And just follow his stuff. He's doing great stuff. He has really cool content on his YouTube channel, on his Instagram. Where else can they find you, Wykie? Is that it? YouTube?
That's it. Just those two platforms are enough for me. Yeah, can't handle anymore. Yeah. Yeah,
and make sure you subscribe to the channel here too, the Content Lab. It's growing slowly, but it's growing. And I really appreciate all the messages that I've been getting and everybody in the chat. So thank you so much. And we'll go with Patty Orr asking, what are you doing tomorrow, Wykie? I'm in town, so.
It's good, man. Let's hang out.
All right, Wykie, thank you so much, man. I really appreciate it.
Thanks, brother. Appreciate you.
All right. Thank you, everybody.